Welcome back. We are here for the Between Stars and Suns, Season 2, Episode 18. Previously on, I'm not sure if I even want to ask if anybody remembers what happened last time because there was so much, but let's go ahead and try. Like one or two lines from each of the players that were here, and then we can hear about what happened to Ernest since the last time we were able to see him. Yeah. So whomever has some ideas of what they want to say, go right ahead.
Well, Dr. John Weiss had a perfectly productive day. He had some coffee with Liat. He had a very nice conversation with Sir Atticus. Remedy any sort of past issues. We did investigate a little bit about this mirror. I'm suspicious whether or not it's actually real or not. I doubt it is. It just doesn't make sense. But it's still, there's a lot of suspicion. There's a lot of blackmail about. So, gotta find these spies effectively. Not good for the ambassadors of Europe to be spied upon, let alone the Empire. So that's why we're involved with this whole thing. And we're about to handle this beast tonight with Sir Atticus. Hopefully. I think so. I'm not sure what it is exactly.
Yeah, we can deal with it in one night. No problem.
At least to make sure he doesn't die tonight. Let's set our goals to be reasonable.
Well, I don't know about any of you. I think my day phase was fine. I was a little grumpy waking up, on account of killing my ex-girlfriend. But to be fair, I think it was for the best. Otherwise, I paid a visit to a servant. She was very helpful in her own way. Yeah, I think that's really about it. Oh, yeah, there was some lovely conversations between Dr. Weiss and then later Sir Atticus. Very, very tactile conversations, if you will.
The beast is on the board. That is all Atticus is really focusing on.
And what, pray tell, has happened to Ernest during all of this hubbub?
Ernest is consumed by the King in Shadows production and has been invisibly and therefore nakedly moving through endless, narrowly parted velvet curtains and then performing on stage in any number of positions and rehearsing for his role to come. Occasionally, I imagine it as if in a casual rehearsal, it was just a pair of pants strutting along the stage to do blocking.
Love it. And then I think, as you were going along, because time moves differently there, I believe that you were lost in a sea or a hallway of long velvet curtains and painted backdrops. And I think, like around dusk for everybody else's time, I think you found yourself spat out on some cobblestone streets near Hargrave House? Was it disorienting for you?
I think that Ernest embraced so much of the otherworldly of the King in Shadows, those kinds of like push and pull and like being on mushrooms in the forest in the middle of the night. You just kind of to keep moving and trust your instincts. And so as the invisible Ernest Marit-Savage gets spit out of this dimension, no one can see the perfect tuck and roll into a bow on the wet cobblestones.
Nice. Okay. In that case, I think you do make your way home in time to see everybody else preparing for, well, whatever they're preparing for. So let's set it out on the table. Before I introduce the unseen for this evening, who is going where? Remember, King in Shadows has a time frame. It will conclude its run after 4 night phases. Tonight will be the second night.
Unfortunately, Liat doesn't care about that because she has butt aliens to deal with.
But aliens. Okay. Sure.
I think Ernest kicks in again. The doors of Hargrave House burst open for no apparent reason. And you hear Ernest call throughout the house, "The play is the thing. You all have roles I've been rehearsing forever. Where are you?"
I think upstairs, Liat just sort of looks at Abdurrahman while she's changing, says, "Well, go see to him." And she's just going to continue sort of putting on some perfume and adjusting herself.
Unfortunately, tonight, Dr. John Weiss will be performing a different role as sidekick for Sir Atticus.
The beast is afoot. The hunt is on.
Okay. So, Ernest, are you going to find your way back to the play over at the Society Obscura? Or will you tag along with somebody else's journey?
I think that he is quite rightly possessed and halfway a little bit mad, having spent so much time in the play already, that Ernest will stomp up the stairs loudly, even though no one can see him, and put on an ensemble and leave Hargrave House quite quietly, so they cannot see me leave back to the Society Obscura, as I know where the next production is going to be.
Question. At least for Liat. Do you think Abdurrahman is able to see Ernest?
Think so. I think he sees everything.
Dressed or undressed?
Whatever you like, baby.
No, I'm asking from a supernatural sand person perspective what their eyesight's like.
Oh. I think they're just, because they're a supernatural sand person, they just maybe see, they have a different sense of perception. So I think that even in his undressed, invisible state, maybe he sees what Ernest is if he were visible.
Or like a heat signature.
Yeah, maybe.
How do you think, just out of curiosity, so say, Abdurrahman is present when Ernest comes stomping up the stairs into his room and then making his changes and such, do you think he just stands there and watches, or do you think he approaches Ernest in any way?
Oh, no, he doesn't
You did
approach.
tell him. Well, you did tell him to see to him, so I didn't know what that meant.
I think it's just meant to make sure that he's not causing any trouble and not like, trying to specifically disrupt anything that Liat has planned.
Ah, okay. And do you take notice of the silent servant, Ernest, before you leave?
I think that Ernest is far too focused. I have announced this is what we should be focusing on. I can't imagine why any of you would find anything other than this to be the compelling thing. And in that kind of repetitive, self-fulfilling edge of madness, Ernest mutters to himself, ignoring Abdurrahman entirely on the way out.
Okay. All right. Just want to verify that I know what's going on. All right, great. Choices. All right. Let's go ahead and introduce the unseen. For tonight, I picked, with everybody's okay, line 1, IJ, Madame Morvaine's boy tour, powdered princelings and delightful demigods, all agape for your amusement. Madame Morvaine's famous guidebook is a walking tour of all the best male prostitutes in London. Ship Captain Jackson Flint Broadmoor has just come in for a 3-day port of call, the well-worn guidebook clutched beneath his arm. I believe, let me just double check the safety here. Sex work is on a veiled thing, as well as sexual content. So, again, do your best to keep it PG-13 and fade to black if it gets a little too spicy. Okay? But yeah, let's do... Oh my god, having all 4 of you, I'm like, I don't know what to do now. Okay, sorry. Gotta get control. Prince Louis can go to chaotic. Boop. Anthony Adonis can go to Mike. Johnny can go to Jack. And Thomas can go to Sarah. Okay. So that is our unseen for this evening. Before we get into it, anybody want to change their mind about what they're going to be going or doing? No? Good? Okay. So, chaotic. Prince Louis, powdered, soft, covered in yards of satin and lace, invites Captain Broadmoor into his boudoir. What distinctly feminine touches do we see in Prince Louis's room?
I think it's more with a laughter. The door is sprung wide open, and Prince Louis, I mean, it is technically counts as an outfit, but it's not modest in the slightest. He's wearing underwear at the very least, so there's that. I think it's more satin lace sort of draping over his chest, over his legs, and whatnot. There is this fine smell of lavender and lilac, very floral. And I think as sort of Prince Louis just sort of bounces back to like flop onto the bed, and he's just laughing as he's enjoying himself, and he tries to have like a sort of come hither approach as he makes sort of direct eye contact with Prince Broadmoor. He laughs. Oh dear, please come here and join me here. I do enjoy fine company as sort of those good fellows, those good seamen that come ashore.
Okay. Ernest, I think as you stomp your way back to Society Obscura, do you even bother to take a carriage, or you're just walking the whole way, like muttering your lines?
Oh, it looks fraught. Think of any creative genius that was portrayed in film in the 1990s. We're in full Amadeus problematic place right now. I think directly walking one foot after another, occasionally practicing like a side step into a slide.
Nice. Oh, what the hell. I'm gonna say that as you're doing this, it's like, we start to see like, people coming in from the sides and like joining you in your musical number.
Victorian flash mob.
Victorian flash mob. Like they're just starting to come like, off to the side, and it's like I'm thinking 500 Days of Summer for some reason. But yeah, that whole scene of like, just like doing the dance number and then singing to each other in the streets, and twist and shout or whatever, and yeah, I think as you make your way down these streets and people are singing along with you as you perceive this, I think at the end of one of these wide streets, like you'll see almost like a spotlight drop on an alleyway, and there's a very inviting doorway that you see at the end of this alleyway with a placard or the board up on the above it that shows a beer stein, and it's overflowing with foam. And gilded letters proclaim the night tap.
Well, I do always like to have a nip of something before a show.
And as the chorus like resounds into the ringing climax, I think it looks like the board swinging above the door seems to spew beer on its own. Do you head in?
I mean, full flash dance through the beer curtain into the door.
Yeah. It's actually a simple pub. Its front facade sits at the back of the dark, obscure alleyway, and packed when you come in with mysterious patrons in featureless gold masks, the air smoky and reeking of this beer. Paint the scene for everyone. Being here feels like being unstuck in time. What do you experience that makes you feel this way? And again, feel free and put this in the London tab for the night tap. Being here feels like being unstuck in time. What do you experience that makes you feel this way?
As Ernest unbends and kind of like, I guess, looks as if he's brushing away imaginary beer foam from his mask. He's breathing very heavily after that dance number, and as he breathes in and breathes out, it almost looks like all of the pints of the beer in the bar are filling and emptying in time with his gasping breaths.
The staff here, the bartender and the beer maids, there's sort of an anatomical it's almost like as if they're automatons. They are. They look, at least on the outward side, they're humans. But their movements and their routine is very mechanical in the way that they move through the bar. And it's always on sort of like a schedule. Like if Ernest watches carefully enough, everything is very timed.
I think you notice that the prices are way higher than what you would expect for a bar of this tier. But after you finish your first drink and you look away to call someone over, one of these automatons, you look back and you see that your drink is full again. And it seems like you're thirsty again. And so you repeat and take another drink. And, well, so it goes.
the other patrons, their fashion is a little bit off. Like they're not horribly dressed by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a lot of older types of clothes, a lot of like more finely worn down satins and silks. Very prestigious dress, but it's been dated for at least 50 years now.
I'm going to tag on to that as well and say that as you're looking around, Ernest, and seeing these things, I think you see some movement from these off-fashionably dressed people in one of the corners, and they seem rather resplendent in this like vintage wear, I suppose, for you. But you notice that one of them is actually lifting up his mask a little bit. Very beautiful suit. You may or may not have seen this suit before, but as he raises his mask and you just kind of get the peek of one eye, one beautiful violet eye, that violet eye winks at you, and then he puts the mask right back down. What do you do?
I was considering that. I think that Ernest is so there's a lot of adrenaline pumping, right? In this kind of like surrealist performing kind of fugue state that he's found it like literally frothing. Will grab someone else's beer and not quite know for sure if he imagined that violet eye or not. He takes a big swig.
Where do you settle? Do you settle at the bar, or do you try to settle at one of the tables?
At the bar, facing that corner table, watching, not directly, but so that that couple is always within the peripheral of my vision.
Yeah. Like you can tell from the hair that the person that he's with has incredible otherworldliness about her, about just as tall, and just seems to always drape herself on his shoulders. But they're talking very animatedly, and they're talking to someone that may even look slightly familiar to you. You may or may not have seen her. She's dressed in current fashion. She seems rather young, even under the mask, and she's of noble birth, but she seems to have, looks like a bite or a ring of dried blood coming down from her neck.
I would recognize her from Dame Georgie's room, I believe.
You might.
What's the state of an investigation check, even though I don't? Okay.
You can totally do what you want. You just have to tell me what you're going to do.
Yeah. Ernest is going to use his favorite pastime, his voyeurism, and casually but pointedly watch everything they do. Seeing if I can I want to see intent. I want to see, is this a plan, a celebration? God, how they know each other.
Indeed.
It's like seeing an ex with like an elementary school teacher you had. Like, it just doesn't, like, why would these two people know each other?
Exactly. It's weird and wackadoodle, but yeah. So information move, roll with, considering where you're at, sensitivity, please.
Yeah. All right. That is a 7 on the dice, and it's been a minute with this character. Bear with.
Sure. Yeah.
Not on my character sheet. My sensitivity is a +0. That is a 7 overall.
Okay. Let me give you a clue. And then we shall see how life gets a little complicated. All right? Give me a half a mo. Let's see what you got on the board so far.
I think that Ernest is actually distracted a little bit at how calming he's finding a room of people also wearing masks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's like being in a room with friends that you haven't seen for a while, I think. It's kind of got that comforting feeling of belonging, even with the people that you maybe not necessarily know. Oh, let me check your character sheet. There's something in here that may or may not get activated, depending on what you got. Oh, you do, don't you? Alrighty, so I think as you're watching them, you've been immersed in King in Shadows for however long it's been. You don't even know. You've just been playing your part, or watching the rehearsals, or watching what you consider the performance going on almost the same time, in order, out of order, whatever it is. You've been in the production. And I think as watching these people, you feel like you've seen this scene before. Them talking, these people that feel very familiar to you. And as you're watching them, you see behind them others disappear as darkness kind of blooms behind them. And you're back in the stage show itself. And this vision is showing you what could be a future performance of The King in Shadows, ending in tragedy, as the woman who is got the dried ring of blood around her neck is stabbed in the heart by one of these people in the mask. I think it's the gentleman with the violet eye. The ritual dagger gleams, and you see it come down very theatrically. And as it falls, and she dramatically falls with her face towards you in agony, even through the mask, you see it. Then the darkness starts to fold over this scene as if the curtain is falling. That is your clue. A future performance of The King in Shadows ending in tragedy with a ritual dagger as the curtain falls. I'm going to put all that in there, don't worry. Got it. Okay. And all because you had the cosmic passage marked. Thank you so much. All right.
And please.
Mm-hmm. Consider how you feel about that as we head over to Liat.
Sure.
Liat, you are heading over to... Where are you heading over to deal with these bud aliens?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. So
You're
you know that Elodie and Mrs. Vardana knew about the collector.
Yep.
And knew that it was, presumably also then knew that it was an alien. So I think that she would want to track down Mrs. Vardana, maybe even using her as bait for the collector.
Sure. Yeah, I think maybe you do a tiny stakeout at the house, expecting that Miss Vardana has begun to make her claim, and she is, going to head over there and do what she's going to do. I think, though, as you're watching the house, I think you see that fellow that you had seen at the museum when you were checking out some of the items that had been taken there from Verdana's collection. It was the nervous bird-like fellow, I think, that had commented on footwear. Something very, very strange, and his clothing is always just slightly too short for his frame. And you see him approach the house, and from the side, not from the front door, you see Mrs. Verdana go to him, and they proceed to call a carriage and head away from the house. They're heading somewhere. You don't know where.
I'm following.
Sure. It leads you to... There is no placard or plaque outside of this building. It's rather a grim structure. A townhouse like Society Obscura, but just darker for some reason. There are burly security guards at the door, and every window of this place is festooned in heavy curtains. Yeah, they speak to the guards stationed outside the door, and they are let in. You notice that the door has like a tiny one of those tiny windows that opens up.
Sorry, could you words? Could you repeat that last part?
Yeah, so again, they go into this grimdark townhome. All windows are festooned with heavy curtains.
Okay.
They talk to the big burly guards. They are let in. And the door itself has one of those tiny little window things that, like, opens and shuts.
Okay.
Yep.
Then me and Abdurrahman are getting out. We've got to crash this party.
Are you going up to the front door? Or are you going to
Oh
try
yeah,
to sneak?
yeah.
Okay.
We're not sneaking. We're not common thieves. We don't skulk about in the shadows.
Okay. All right. Fair
What do we
enough.
look like?
Mm.
Sir Atticus? God.
What are you wearing? Besides, like, obviously we know about your perfume, but I mean, like,
yeah.
what are you wearing?
I think to really kind of go with the whole stealth aspect, I think she's wearing this sort of like bright crimson floor length gown. It's actually more Victorian than she's usually seen wearing. She usually wears things that are a bit more Persian or Arabic in style, but this, I think, she's feeling sort of costumey in a way. And so I think she has her hair partially done up, but the rest is sort of long and still trailing like trailing down her back. But otherwise, she has like this sort of very ornate. I think I said crimson, but I'm thinking more like vermilion, actually, like a bright red orange, like silk gown with like golden embroidery on it.
When you present yourself to the guards, they are big and imposing. Probably they look like a match for Abdurrahman, but, obviously they're very human. They kind of just look down their noses and their chests at you. Supposed to go round the back. All courtesans.
And yet here I am at the front. Now, if you please.
Night move. What are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve?
I'm afraid that these men will forget themselves and put their hands on me.
Yeah, I mean, they will not only put their hands on you, but they will forcibly remove you from the front door. And, well, there's a mud patch nearby. They're probably going to push you into the mud patch.
Well then. What am I rolling with?
You are rolling with presence. I would think so.
Okay. And then I don't have any conditions. Great. That is a 12.
So you tell me what happens to prevent them from just treating you like one of the courtesans that is inside.
One of them is bold enough to try and put his hands on me. And in a flash, Abdurrahman appears behind me. He takes the man's hand, snaps it all the way back, and the other man instinctively rushes in to help. Abdurrahman, not even paying attention or acknowledging him with a glance, just sort of reaches up, grabs the other man's face, slams both of their heads together, and then takes them both and then pushes them through the front door.
Pushes them inside?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And I think there's a young and handsome and very statuesque young fellow that comes up behind you as this happens and says, "Oh, well, isn't that convenient? At least don't have to worry about showing any cards to the security.
Yes.
I am Owen Hale." Like as if you're supposed to know who the hell that is, but
Yeah, she just sort of looks down and says nothing to him, but then looks back to Abdurrahman and says, "Collect me their hands." And she'll step over them. And as she's stepping over them, Abdurrahman begins to take out a blade and will start to do as his mistress commands of him.
Oh, well, hopefully they weren't paying him that much. Are you here as a guest of the Fedonic Society?
Sorry, the what?
This is well, this is the club of the Fedonic Society. I'm here to, I guess, do my duty.
And what duty is that?
Oh, well, you have to be a courtesan of certain high status, like I am, to be matched with the club's elite membership to serve their particular needs. But I can command a commensurately high price.
Can you now?
Yes.
How much are you worth?
He will just kind of like give you a look under very flirty lashes. He's very handsome. And he will just kind of lean in slightly and whisper into your ear an exorbitant sum. I serve very well.
And so you shall. And I'm going to use Giveth on him.
Kidoke.
And when he pulls away and says that as a means to base himself, I think that he looks back into her eyes and he hears the sort of squelching sound of Abdurrahman cutting through the flesh of those guards. And he's shaken up by that. He looks back at Liat, understanding the kind of power she wields. Mm-hmm. And he bends down on both knees and says, "I'm worth nothing. Not in your presence, anyway." And Liat, pleased with this, says, "Well, at least you know your place. On your feet."
Thank you, mistress. And he gracefully gets up and will keep his eyes averted, but like he will like make like he's blowing a kiss in your direction. How do you scar your reflection, please?
As he stands up, and as we hear the final snap of the knife through the wrist bones, we cut to the British Museum's basement, and we see that one of the hands of the statue, the wrist begins to crumble, and it doesn't break all the way off, but enough to at least dislodge it and make it limp.
Yeah.
But Liat will say simply, send me, sorry, not send me, Mrs. Vardana. Have you heard of her?
Oh, yes. She's one of the highest members, having been here for quite some time.
Take me to her.
Absolutely, mistress. And he will lead you through the tobacco and opium smoke, and it's almost as if the camera was following you both, it's almost as if you are lost in the mists of these hallways and the heaviness of all the curtains and the velvet. All right. Atticus and John. Dr. Weiss. Okay. Atticus, I say you track to the industrial slaughterhouse, where you saw in your vision that Lady Everly Grey fell. I think by this time that there has the cry has gone up, and Scotland Yard is already there, or at least D.I. Pettigrew and some of his cronies in the force.
Oh, that's different. Pettigrew is totally different. We can work with Pettigrew. Atticus does not know he's a servant.
Right, he does not know. No. And yeah, he's there in his officious way, and he's like, you know, ordering them about to take up some of the details. He's writing in his little notebook. He's like, you know, like twirling his handlebar mustache and such, and like proclaiming what he sees. And just gonna say that it is a gore fest. From what you can see from your distant position, I think you can tell that they've come upon quite the grisly scene.
Okay.
There are men with bags.
Atticus is going to take a moment, collect himself, and is then going to see if there are any bones.
Yeah.
There are.
Well, let's go ahead and make a roll here. I mean,
Okay.
like, you know, if you're doing a tracking around the perimeter slash, you know, leading up to where they're working.
Oh no, Atticus is going to go up to the crime scene. He
okay.
he will introduce himself up to Pettigrew if
Sure.
you have need.
Yeah. I think like seeing the gore, Dr. John Weiss is like, oh, okay. And then just like seeing Pettigrew, I think like it's just this awkward moment like that Dr. John Weiss expects Sir Atticus to like break off and like start investigating from the shadows, but we're going in the same direction anyways.
Right. Which already is like kind of like hilarious, because it's like, you know, as D.I. Pettigrew is ordering people about, he sees the two of you come up together and he's like, oh, Dr. Weiss, come here, please. You must take a look at this incredible scene.
Mm-hmm.
This is... Need you to do your usual.
Yes, it's quite fascinating. There is way too much blood for it to be a single body.
But it is. That's the problem.
Yes.
And Sir Atticus, it's good to see you again. I've lost track of you, sir. I'm sorry. I don't have to apologize to you, of course. But yes, you are here after a hunt.
In pursuit of a hunt, my good man. I wish that I could say we are meeting under good, auspicious circumstances, but this particular quarry is rather dangerous to you and your lot, if it's what I suspect it is.
So you do know what this is?
I think I know. I need to look at the scene uninterrupted, Pettigrew.
don't know, Sir Atticus. I know
The heart of London itself is at stake, Pettigrew, and I do not exaggerate in this.
I can keep an eye on Sir Atticus if you want, Pettigrew. Sir Atticus means well, and he has some sorts of expertise in terms of the animal sort of types of bestial attacks.
Atticus is not going to wait for permission. He is going to just continue on into the crime scene having explained himself.
I'll keep an eye on him.
All right.
And
See that you do. I mean, we had some cleanup to do, unfortunately. My men, and he gestures to the guys that are holding all these bags, collecting evidence. You may want to go through them. We'll go over here and see if we can track the trail leading away.
Mm-hmm.
he has to cough because it's bad.
It's an industrial slaughterhouse and there's been a fresh gore. Like, it is not a good smell.
Yep. Yeah, I think he literally pulls out a handkerchief that's been scented and just kind of holds it up against his face. And then, all right, so you two, information move if you want to do it.
Yep.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Is there anything that remotely resembles a body at the scene?
Well, D.I. Pettigrew did wave you on to take a look at the stuff in the bags.
Okay, I will take the look at the stuff in bags.
Yes.
Would that be enough to trigger beneath the skin?
Sure. I'm just saying, because, yeah. This beast is badass. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I get to ask 2 questions without rolling.
Okay.
What would an untrained eye overlook here? The keeper will answer with a clue.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, God. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I just want to give this one for free because this actually happened. Give me a sec.
A free clue? Not gonna say
free
no
clue.
to that.
Yeah, but like I said, it's already happened, so it makes perfect damn sense. Half a mo.
Mm-hmm. So we're getting
a side character
clues.
who has been intimate with the legacy turns up dead. You get that one for free.
You know, absolutely
go.
right. We do get that one for free.
Is this
do get that
the
one for
start of
free.
the Between the Law and Order episode? Like,
Yeah, pretty
what
much.
cold cut was that?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Thank goodness we don't have like an iced tea, somebody who we have to explain the concept of crime to in every episode.
I mean, that's kind of Liat, isn't it?
So you're saying I
Ice?
can't?
He wasn't out there doing all the crimes.
You're saying I can't just go and murder people if they annoy me? What absolute nonsense!
What's wrong with taking their hands? They aren't using them anymore.
What do you mean other people's things are theirs and not mine?
Yeah, true. Okay.
But everything was mine.
All right. So, Dr. Weiss, as you're looking through these bags, oh my god. I think you'll notice that among the viscera, you'll see that there's like a pile of warm white ash that smells of foul chemicals. Yeah.
That's weird.
That's very weird. I mean, like, you know, anybody else would think of it as being like, oh, this is what happens when the body does, looks like that. No, this is very odd. What's the other thing?
Can I take a body part without anybody noticing?
Of course.
Yay!
D.I. Pettigrew's like, well, I mean, obviously Atticus is elsewhere. And D.I. Pettigrew's kind of conveniently having his men like trace the tracks of, Sir Atticus, what are you doing? Tell me which body part in a minute, Dr. Weiss, because you can either do the body part memory or you can wait until dawn. That's up to you.
I'm prowling about the dumping area, just where they leave all the gore and everything else, where this thing has been feeding and resting. And I'm just getting in there. I'm moving things with my hands, digging through viscera, just trying to find any clue, any idea of how long it's been nesting here.
Information move, please, with brain reason, because I'm praying that you brain get a clue for this, mixed result or no, because I mean, there's a really great clue that I want to give you. I want to give you so bad.
You could always give me
I
the
could
clue
give it
for
to you, but I want to see you
free.
roll because I want to see how much trouble you get into. Let's see.
Okay, I get advantage because this is my first roll of night phase.
Yes.
With cosmic passage.
Absolutely.
That is a 7. I rolled a 1, a 2, and a 5. So off to a good start.
Okay. All right. So I think as you're pushing things away and around, you find what looks like a photo or painting, whichever you think is more likely.
Photo.
Okay. It is. It is of your father, the third. It is of your sister, your mother, and we think, or you think, you. You don't remember this portrait being taken, this picture being taken. You think it's you, but when you look at this picture, you're blotted out.
Okay.
And complicating your life.
What is my complication?
From a nearby window, I think you'll hear a psst, psst.
I look up as any good hunter would.
It's your sister. She's at the window.
What the devil are you doing here? It's here. The beast is here.
I know. I'm wondering, what the devil are you doing here? You didn't come back and talk to us. You didn't come back and get the full story from Francis.
The beast is here. Nothing else matters.
Yes, it does.
Tell me then, sister. Tell me what deep, hidden truths that you couldn't tell me before overpower the value of taking this beast out of the world.
I can't tell you everything. It would change the timeline if I did. It would change the dimensional shift if I did. I'm already in trouble by trying to tell you just even this.
Are you my sister or are you not? Will you not take up our sworn oath? We are here to take out the beast. That is above everything else, Loren.
I am Loren, but you are not my brother. And she... I've got to go. And then her face disappears from the window.
I'm taken a little bit aback by that.
How do you feel?
Angry. I'm out for blood. I'm absolutely livid that my sister, whatever face, whatever reality or timeline that she comes from, would set anything aside from this, our duty. The beast is a blight upon light itself, upon life itself. We are here to remove it. Anything else is just excuses.
Take the condition family conflict.
That's a very light touch on what it is. Okay.
If you have a grimmer name for it, I'd love to hear it.
No. Because calling it Family Feud would kind of take away the gravitas of the situation. So,
Mike. Anthony the Adonis, whose body is rubbed with golden powder. How do we know Anthony is dying of consumption?
consumption has taken a lot of energy out. So, Adonis needs to be more discerning with where he spends his time, his effort. So, as the good captain approaches this very exclusive appointment, we see that Adonis is putting away a kerchief that may or may not be stained with blood, and says in a deep, husky voice, "Surely you have the time to spare." Um, and he's just kind of leaning into it as the consumption has taken away the higher tenor of his voice. So Adonis is a professional, and he'll do what he can with what he's got.
Okay. So, Ernest. Yeah, you see that vision burst on you, and you see the woman with the red ringed neck fall dramatically to the stabbing from the violet eyed man. What do you do? How do you feel?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw this and then the black kind of subsumed the potential version of this, and I'm back at the bar, or am I still kind of like, did it reset? Is she dead on the bar floor, or could she potentially be?
She's on the bar floor, and they
Mhm.
look like they're trying to rouse her. Like, you
Okay.
don't see any sign of the ritual dagger or anything like that. She just has kind of fallen and hasn't
I
gotten up
was
yet.
just clarifying, did I have a vision or did this happen? So I think recognizing Lady Abigail Douglas Waits, Ernest will run over like the main character he believes himself to be and expose an invisible wrist above or just like underneath her nose, like smelling salts.
The mask has slid away, and you look into this woman's face, and it looks remarkably like her, down to the cornflower blue eyes and the flaxen hair. But yeah, she's not quite conscious, and she's just kind of like, and you see her mouth, like, as she's kind of smiling awake, and you do not see like the sharp incisors. She's just looks like her eyes flutter. And you're still wearing your mask, correct?
I am. I am wearing a Noah mask of a barn owl, so it's all very angular, eyes and nose. And I think that not seeing any bloodlust rise, Ernest will slowly withdraw his wrist and kneel a little straighter and look to the man wearing the mask who had the violet eyes.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
She just seemed to faint. We're not sure why. A little bit too much, dear. And again, she's still on the floor, and, like, her eyes flutter a little bit, and it's like, and she realizes what had happened, and she puts the mask quickly back on, and then she just kind of like puts out a hand on her chest and is like, "Oh my, oh maybe that was quite exhilarating. I just out of nowhere had to to collapse, and I couldn't control it. I apologize." And she's looking. Her eyes are looking out at you from behind her mask, Ernest, and kind of fluttering with wide innocence. I apologize for worrying you.
There, lady, and I will help sit her up gently and give her an arm so she may stand.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Are you enjoying yourself here?
I couldn't begin to tell you. Maybe. And Ernest will do a 360 spin on the ball of his foot and look at her again and tilt his head unnervingly like an owl's and lean to whisper into her ear. And I would like to, at this point, use a move.
Okay.
And I would like to, with my move, the Quicksilver tongue.
Okay.
I have a tongue that can constrict the human heart with a, quick lick of poetry. And I'm wondering if I might roll and influence whatever being this is.
Sure. Give it a go. Roll with presence, please. And if you have something you'd like to apply to this via personal quarters or what have you, you can always try to roll with advantage.
At that now.
Yeah.
So I have red roses that have been book pressed, flat, and dried. And I'm just going to tuck one into the edge of her bodice in a charming, fashionable way as I sit her back down in a chair comfortably and then lean over to whisper in her ear.
Okay.
I will take another dice. Hot damn. 10 on the dice, and my presence is pretty good, isn't it? Plus 2 is 12.
Okay.
I whisper to her quietly, "Am I the realest thing in this place? Are you a figment of my imagination? Has all of this bar been all part of a ploy? Is this a game? Are you part of the play? Pretend now with me. Let us strut a few hours upon the stage. First, we'll make our polite goodbyes, and then I shall escort you to a wonderful play, where you will learn more about the world than I think you know now. You see so much in the shadows." And I would like to inspire her to create a social diversion in which we can leave this place.
Okay. Polite goodbyes. So which of the on a 10 plus, pick 3 of those things. They will follow your directions promptly. They will follow your directions accurately. No consequences or repercussions will come of this. And you do not take the defaced condition. Considering you still have the defaced condition, then...
I'm actually going to do this in a way that is not necessarily good for Ernest, because that's both fun from a gameplay perspective, and I think it's what he would do. I will take the defaced condition again, essentially checking a mask. And from this instructions, there will be no consequences or repercussions.
Mhm.
They will follow my directions accurately and promptly.
Yeah.
Whoever they might be.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, she prettily makes her goodbyes.
Weren't feeling well. No, it'll be fine. We'll get some air.
Exactly. I mean, like, you're just being like very courtly, very, very, very gentlemanly, and, she gracefully takes your arm as you escort her out of the night tap. I think as you exit the night tap with her, you will see up above where it had been inky blackness before. You don't see any of your flash mob from before, but you do see as if like no time has passed. The constellations remain the same from when you had gone in.
Well, since you fancy to walk, we're going to stroll a few lanes down, and there's a lovely townhouse. There's a production going on that I think you will find particularly enchanting. Walk with me?
Absolutely. Did you write it?
No, but I've been studying it fiercely for some time. But it's a very exciting play, and I think it's going to revolutionize how we see ourselves in each other. Come with me.
And she just nods, and then she will almost skip alongside of you in anticipation. Liat, you have been brought through these rooms. I'm going to say through the smoke of the tobacco and the opium. I think, like smells and sounds that you are very familiar with. You pass rooms that are draped, no doors, but draped in heavy curtains, or are cushioned per se with, like, what would be quilting elsewhere. But you see the puffs of these different smokes coming out from each of these rooms, and they fill these halls as you pass. And you may or may not recognize certain people from the nobility, or what would be considered famous from a stage perspective in London. And they're weaving in and out of these rooms, whether they be actual clientele or if they are possibly courtesans themselves, just like Owen Hale. I'm going to ask for a paint the scene at this moment as you are immersing yourself in this club. What do you see? Paint the scene for everyone. What do you see that indicates the Phaedonic Society Club is older than London itself?
Liat is dressed in very Victorian garb, but as you enter, you notice it does seem to be everybody else got the toga memo, and they are draped with kind of laurels and cloth. And there is kind of that Romanesque mood.
There is a variety of smells and scents. There is the opium, but they've tried to mask it a little bit because opium stinks, is rancid. They are sort of using incense and burning things like lavenders and lilacs, very floral scents, just to try to make things comfortable. But it's giving this hazy feel as though we're stepping through to a different time.
There are artifacts everywhere that are sexual in nature, whether they're toys or sort of depictions, but they're all not only just not replicas, they're authentic, but they predate London itself, going all the way back to ancient Rome, Greece, Assyria, Babylon.
It's as easy as just the murmurs of conversation around are being spoken, some in English, and more of them in dead languages, languages that are not the common parlance.
And this is what you hear as you go through Liat, and this is what you smell and see, of course. Yeah, it's pretty much a romantic
As
toga
I get
party.
to, yeah, as I get to the sort of epicenter of this gathering, Liat will begin to. Well, I don't think Liat does it. I think Abdurrahman will just sort of very carefully go up to her collar and start to undo the buttons of her dress, and he will pull away to reveal was essentially just sort of a very kind of strappy number made entirely of gold link chain and those gold coins that she wears. It's sort of like a kind of like a more expensive version of this is a reference the dress Rose McGowan wore to the VMAs in the 90s.
Amazing.
Someone gets it. Thank you.
Yes. No. I remember seeing that dress. Holy
Okay.
shit. That's amazing.
But much longer.
Much longer. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, and it's where I think the dress drops and just kind of gets kicked to the side, and I think
Kick to the side. Abdurrahman knows better.
does he take it with him? I mean, or is it
Yeah,
just...
he takes it up
Okay,
and puts it in
okay.
his arms.
All right, okay.
It was
Just making sure.
expensive.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it matters to Leon in any way, shape, or form, but okay. So as this is happening, as it drops away, and then Abdurrahman takes it, I think you'll hear someone familiar like call out to you. It's like, "Oh, you've made it here. How delightful!"
Oh, Miss
It's
Vardana.
mm,
It has been some time, hasn't it?
a little.
A
I seem
little.
to have been left behind when you made your way to your companion back at the Society Obscura. Mind you, Miss Vardana she looks younger somehow. Could be the tobacco, could be the opium, or whatever is in the air.
That alien.
That could be it too. But anyway, she's draped on what essentially looks like a throne of cushions. No real chair in sight, but I mean, she's kind of, leaning back, and then one leg is up over the arm of the chair, and she's got the very short toga on with some drapery on, like, tastefully arranged, so things are showing and not showing.
Liat leans down and sort of takes the fabric of her toga in between her fingers, sort of rubs it, scrutinizing it.
Do you approve?
Given your wealth, I thought you would have been able to afford at least Egyptian cotton, not whatever this is.
There's only so much I can hide when it comes to historic things.
In any event, yes.
You and I are of an age, perhaps a pair. I just happen to be conveniently here, making my way across countries and possibly time. But
My dear, you say pair. That would imply that we're equals.
Just smiles.
Now, let's liven up this rather dry party, shall we?
How would you like to do that?
Well, we are all familiar with the final work of the flesh, are we not? Abdurrahman then will approach, handing her a scroll. And out of character, what I would like to do is I would like to read from this scroll an incantation to sort of excite the room, sort of filling it with pheromones, getting everyone sort of hot and bothered. But the goal of this is to get everyone loosened enough that the butt aliens will show up.
Who's to say they're not already here?
I'm essentially casting a magical popper spell.
Okay, just saying. I'm just saying. Okay.
I was halfway through typing party poppers in the chat.
I know what I'm doing. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. So night move. Okay. What are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve? All right.
I think something that I think it was Mike who had mentioned last time, there might be more than one, and they'll overwhelm me. And I'll be the next on the collector's tallies.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm just gonna make it. I mean, let's just go for it. I mean, if we're talking about aliens, butt aliens, whatever the hell we're talking about, I'm gonna say that Verdana's going to reveal her hand and anything else to peel away and reveal the the what's it called? The nest underneath? Let's just put it that way. Let's make it real bad.
Mike is just like, what? All right. So
what would you like to use? If any?
I'm using my scroll of a love story as
Okay.
The magical spell, so that's going to be for advantage.
Oh my god, that's just like so ironic. Sorry.
And since I'm using magic, I would assume it's sensitivity.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take that. Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
That is a 13.
You tell me. You have narrative control and tell me how this turns out with the incantation.
Abdurrahman hands her the scroll and she begins to recite from it. And as she does, there's a almost visible shimmer in the air. It's like someone threw glitter and it's sort of cascading down. And it's like this like silvery gold color, this platinum color. And as it falls on the skin, it dissolves. And as this glitter continues to sort of rain down on the members of this society, their skin sort of almost starts to turn into this sort of gold sheen as they begin to, their temperatures begin to rise. And try not to make it too graphic, but if you've ever seen the film Perfume, when everyone gets a little crazy at the end, it's much like that. But it's bodies on top of bodies. But and it's a big but. When when the spell reaches its apex, there is I guess what you could call it, like a loud groan and a squelching sound. And I think that announces the presence of the alien.
You still have narrative control. How big is this thing?
Probably about like 3 feet long.
I don't know if you're picturing it this way, but I am. So this is all happening, the glitter, the sheen, the temperature's rising, and Verdana is still sitting there in her casual position, looking quite casual, not breaking her smile in any way. But as the frenzy starts to build with everybody else, she's calmly sitting there, and when you hear the groan and the squelching sound, there's this, you can describe it if you'd like, but sinuous thing that comes up from underneath the chair and behind her and raises its serpentine self above her head.
Yeah. I think when the alien finally reveals itself, um, I think it starts to reveal its true form, which is, or maybe it's adopting a new form, which is something that's maybe a bit more humanoid, uh, somewhere in between this sort of like eel formation and thinking something, almost like xenomorphic in a way.
Now, why did you have to reveal this? Could have just had some fun. But no. You had to bear all when it would have just been enough to be skin deep. And as it says skin deep, there is another mouth that pushes through and splays in front of you.
Huh. I'm good cutting away right now. I think I
Okay.
gotta think about what I'm gonna do now.
Absolutely. Okay. Atticus and John. All right. So, John, you're like reveling in the guts.
Mm-hmm. Having a
Gee,
good old
that's
time.
that seems like rather fitting. Okay, great. Okay. So, yeah, reveling in the guts. You got
Yeah.
what now? What piece?
As I'm going through each bag, most of it is very loose. It's even like what I would consider to be a chopped up quality. Like this is terrifying on so many levels, but I'm like, oh my god, what could have possibly done this to like have it all like splatter apart? And like I'm just getting it all over myself because like I don't care. I'm just looking for the details. Did any organ survive? Did any limbs survive? Like there's bits of bone and whatnot and vertebrae. But I finally find it in the last bag. A heart. It is still warm to the touch. I can imagine it beating still. And I think back to a time where my hand was on Dimitri's chest and I felt his heartbeat as he was sleeping by my side. Slow, deep rhythm. But I can't lose myself to the memory right now. And I take my own medical bag, which has a secret bottom into it, and I place the heart in there and hide it away so no one questions me why I'm taking a heart away from the crime scene. I can take the blood away. That's no problem. It's all over me. But it's not exactly useful per se for my projects.
I mean, if anything, you could just like say you're doing your forensic investigation.
Mm.
But do you look for Sir Atticus?
Of course. I think I found all I can do with the body for now.
Okay. Yeah, Sir Atticus, you're inside and you're looking through the stuff. You found the picture, and your sister had come upon you and disappeared, possibly disturbed by one of the officers, or excuse me, one of the constables coming a little bit too close. What do you do?
Atticus is just very huffy, doesn't figure he'll find anything else here. This investigation, this brain work, it's secondary to the fact that this thing just needs to die. Go, kill it, move on with our lives.
Hello, Sir Atticus. You looked a little bit distracted there.
But, yes, sorry. Apologies. I came across an old family photo. It's rather bothersome. Not exactly something I expected to see here. What have you found?
Some interesting chemicals. This creature you're hunting may have like, sort of a venomous spray. So that could be a sort of danger. I'm not certainly what you're hunting in particular, but whatever it is quite large. There's not much in terms of recognizable remains, unfortunately.
Hmm.
And I'm just coated in blood.
Rather involved in the investigation, I see. Though I'm probably not much better, honestly.
Of course.
I think at this point you hear a scream. That scream that is shuddering and screeching through your bones.
We're leaving now.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're going. We're running through the streets of London.
Yep.
We're getting to this thing.
Yeah. As you leave the industrial slaughterhouse and you hear the cries of D.I. Pettigrew, and his men starting to run towards where the sound came from, you see ahead of you in some dim lamplight. You see the figure. You see it. It is immense. It is stripped down of skin. You see down to the sinews. The stag's head turns to you, also stripped down to its skull, and the horns are very prominent and pointy. And it creaks open its mouth again to make another scream. But instead of a scream, as the head is turned towards you, Sir Atticus, I think you see from inside the jaws, you see the terrorized face of Lady Everly Grey screaming at you from inside the mouth of this thing. Name it. Say it out loud. Say its name out loud.
Johnny Rawhead.
It screams. Her face screams from inside its mouth. And it turns, and quick as lightning, it runs. It ambles. It bounds away.
No servitors. It's just the Rawhead.
For right now, it is the Rawhead.
Pursuing. If there are torches, if there are lamplights, if there's anything that can give me fire for this thing.
I mean, conceivably, you could, take that mighty hunter, swing round the lamp post, and then crack it open and try to get at the flame inside.
I think I'm quite to that point yet, but I'll keep
Gotcha.
an eye out for any kerosene or anything
Right.
else as I give chase.
Right. But I think in its wake, as you say that, I think that there are bits and pieces that seem to starting to shudder and waken. They start to look like they're trying to draw together to form something.
Gore.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I shout at Pettigrew, burn the remains. Burn any flesh you see.
But the evidence!
Damn the evidence! This is for the sake of London. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear it say, burn it all.
It's been everywhere around here! But the camera pans over to him as he looks desperate and just questioning, but he'll gesture to his men and throw up his hands. Burn it all. Burn it down. He wouldn't ask us to do this unless he was right. And the men start taking torches and sticking it in all of the places, including inside the slaughterhouse. And the bags. Throwing the bags upon a pyre. Which
Okay.
conveniently is missing something from them.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have repercussions later, now would it?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Atticus doesn't know about it, so Atticus can't enforce that. He'll
No.
be fine.
It'll be fine. Absolutely. Jack. Johnny, an Italian temple, olive-skinned, breathtaking. How do we know Johnny is having the time of his life?
So we see Captain Broadmoor entering. Looks to be like a small railroad style club, sort of like a long hall, and these walls are covered in like this sort of fuchsia colored brocade damask wallpaper and many frames of different sizes and shapes and different kind of ornate Baroque frames. There's different sorts of chairs and lounges with all these sorts of pillows that are shaped for certain positions. But at the end of this long corridor of a room, we see what appears to be like a large clamshell, uh, sort of evoking the imagery of Botticelli's Venus. And we see standing there holding a large fake pearl. We see this olive-skinned young man with just this gossamer toga-esque adornment all over his body. His hair is wavy and dark, and he has this sort of like golden laurel in it. He says, "Ah, Captain, oh Captain, would you like to come have a taste of my pearl?" And he just sort of like rubs the giant pearl in his arms, and he tosses it to the captain. And the captain sort of takes it. When he does, he looks at it, and sort of observing it. It's obviously just sort of like a it's obviously not a real pearl. It's probably not sure what kind of material it would be. Maybe like a paper mache sort of thing with like an iridescent sheen over it. But he looks up at Gianni, and Gianni is now, of course, fully laid bare to him, sort of welcoming him to this giant clamshell bed of his. And Captain Broadmoor, of course, takes his cap off, hangs it up, and rushes into the bed with him. And two of them presumably have quite an evening.
Ernest. Cutting over to the evening. Outside. You have brought this person, Lady Abigail or no. Did you even ask her her name?
I declared it over her semi-conscious body and then didn't really bother after that.
I see.
She's good company.
Yes, no, I mean, she's listening very raptly to everything that you're saying and nodding enthusiastically. She, of course,
Ernest loves an audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She will even, every once and again, like after listening to what you're saying, I mean, she will delightedly clap. Oh, so wonderful.
We're headed to the Society Obscura.
And what is that?
Oh, we're going to take in a show. I was telling Mads we were heading to the Society Obscura, not, sorry, that wasn't dialogue.
Sorry. Got it.
We promenade. I make all of the conversation 100% about myself. It is as if the mutterings continue, except now I have a passive audience on my arm to take in my musings, suspicions, concerns, And lines. Oh, could you help me run some lines?
Oh, absolutely. Be glad to. Where's the script?
No, you just need to say yes
Ah, yes,
and continue saying yes. And he just like
yes.
touches the nose on her mask patronizingly.
Mm. And those cornflower blue eyes are just looking at you, wide-eyed. Ingenue,
Mm.
your weakness,
Mm-hmm.
your delight. Um, I think as you approach the Society Obscura and you are just being this one-man show, um, you can hear from, you almost know it by heart now. And for some reason, you have not changed. You do not feel any changes into your body or your face or what have you. You feel intact. But, you know from your various viewings of the show so far that it is approaching that climactic part in Act 3 where it's just completely bizarre, completely gonzo. Just some of the portions of Act 3 are just, how did this tie into Act 2? I think that went back to Act 1. I mean, like, anything that anybody else would question in terms of writing. But for some reason, you're into it. You remember what happens in this act. And the introduction of the Duchess, the Prince, the Knave. What do you do? I mean, again, you're outside of the society, but you can see on the uppermost level, you can see, like, the lights that you remember seeing being in the show itself. You remember, like, some of the shadows flitting across the windows. So, what do you do?
In conversation with this replication of what might be the Lady Abigail Douglas Waits, Ernest stands outside the Society Obscura and for a moment is just observing her while his mouth unnervingly moves in time silently with all of the lines that are being recited above him just from the light cues. I know the Duchess is about to move forward on the stage and begin to tell the audience about her plans for the rest of the players behind her in her second monologue. But
As
while
as this
moving
is
his
happening, though, you're hearing it, you're mouthing it. I think you hear from behind you. You hear someone saying those lines in time with what you're just mouthing. A female voice in a breathy, sensual voice.
I think the same 360-degree heel turn on the ball of his foot spins around and then another 90 degrees again. So he's facing the person behind him to see who is saying the lines in time with him.
It's the woman you saw before on the boat, dressed in black and red, and that deep crimson ring around her neck. And she's saying the lines and smiling, and as she's saying particularly wide, smiled lines, you can see the point of her incisors. And so
Precisely.
the plan begins and ends, is how she finishes one statement.
Precisely. No, incisely. That. Is this one not yours? It was a lovely reading. I'm sorry. We can absolutely enjoy the performance together. I've just been trying to figure out this. And he gestures to the empty, though lovely, cornflowered-eyed, masked vessel beside him. Is this one not yours?
No, not at all.
Oh, the
She,
blood rings matched. I just could have sworn.
well, I'm sure that my servant, Dame Georgie, remembers her very well. Perhaps this is a shade of his guilt. I have merely come to observe and see the emotion, the pain, the temptation that this, and she gestures to the building, she gestures to Society Obscura, that this has wrought. They do the play here in the most serendipitous crossroads of time and space. Do you like it? Do you
Play?
like the show? Yes.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been immersed in this production for quite some time now, but I really do feel like, well, here, we will leave the shade here, and perhaps you can come back and collect her later for, well, perhaps you would like to torment someone. Sounds like Dame Georgie has got a lot of things going on, but this, the play, the play, the play, the play is the thing. The play is the thing. And he will take this woman that he knows to be in extreme danger to him, but still take her arm. Let's go enjoy the show, because if you are even just a fraction of the fan that I am, I know that we are going to have a splendid evening.
And she will actually look at you. I think she's of a height. She'll look at you and look at your arm around hers, and then take her hand, her other hand, and pat your arm. That sounds like an absolutely splendid idea. I wanted a companion for this evening, and perhaps you can give me the nuances of what you've seen and performed. Yes?
I saw you mouthing the words same as I did. You are just as compelled as I am. There is a genius here that I intend to exploit in order to, oh, give depth to my own work. If I could only
I
just
feel
crack
the
it.
same way. We are of a mind.
Oh, how lovely. My lady, I am Ernest Marit-Savage, and as savage I shall be for you, if you would only tell me your name.
You can call me Hot.
As if you have not already captured mine. Yes. Let us to our seats. They're just about to call intermission. We can get to know each other.
Oh, we will get to know each other very well. And this is where her incisors gleam. Let's go over to Liat. Liat, tell me what's going on.
Well, I imagine that the members of the society are all sort of wrapped up in ecstasy, that they don't really notice that there's this, extremely tall, rail thin, pale creature in their midst.
Your incantation has pretty much set them upon each other in that way. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
We're having a good time.
they're having a great time.
I didn't want to say it, but you did. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I think uh do you think the creature's speaking telepathically or like through its mouths?
I think it's speaking through its mouths, but I mean, like,
Yeah,
again, it's because of its resonance. I mean, like, I think you can also feel it as well. So
got it.
it could be like considered telepathically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sort of like that alien sort of like vibrational thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Liat will sort of like step over a few bodies on her way to look at this creature and just simply ask, so what is it that you want? Is that you want to return to your slumber? Or are you excited about this new world that you've woken up in?
It considers your question, and it asks you a question in return. Do you glean any pleasure from being here so long?
She considers it for a moment. Her face doesn't move. She's still sort of got that, that that wry grin on her face, but I think that internally she's like seriously considering this creature's question. I wonder. There is so much to see and so much that will be seen, so much that will happen that I fear that I might miss out on an experience.
There is so
Seeing this world
much.
end is a thrill in and of itself, is it not?
True. But when you can be in all places, many places at once, as a single consciousness, reverting back to itself, then sometimes it may be worth it. I'm excited to see the possibilities. I intend to be here for a very, very long time.
And I have no real intention to stop you. That said, you are making quite a mess of things in my city, and, well, I won't stand for it. This is my city after all, and, well, there is a great big wide world out there for you to exploit for your own gain, for your own entertainment. All I ask is that you simply move on. When I'm done here, well, you can do as you please and insert yourself into whatever situation you like.
I suppose that is what happens when a piece of me gains more sentience than intended. Sometimes it just wanders away and makes life for itself. I'm just here to collect the pieces.
Be that as it may, there are many pieces around the world that you can collect. And we've both been in this game for very, very long. And I'm sure you can understand that, well, I have my ways and I'm sure you have yours. And I would hate to disrupt any of it. Nothing but respect for you and what you do. However, I need to. And I think she starts to consider her position again. No, no, I don't need to. Why, why, why can't we just, why can't we coexist here in London? Yes, I've been foolish. I've let the sentimental, I've let the sentiments of that Hargrave house infect me, cloud my judgment. No, no. I do ask that you keep a bit of a low profile. My housemates, well, they can be bothersome, and I would hate for you to have your fun disrupted by them. They're vigilant, if nothing else. A bit pious, really.
If I continue on with these activities here, what will you say to them?
To
Will
whom?
you tell your colleagues of my presence, of where
I will
I
tell them
am?
that I will tell them that the threat has been resolved, and they will question it not, because they will have known. They will be none the wiser.
Ah, so we are at an accord then? You do not bother me, and I may not bother you.
I do have
Yes.
one request, however.
What is that?
This one here, and she sort of just looks down at the kind of like shell of Mrs. Verdana. Do keep her in mind for me, won't you? She has quite a tongue on her.
In response, the two-mouthed thing will sneak its prehensile tongue out at you in a pattern of, well, I think you get the message. And
She'll
will
lean
accede.
over. I think before that happens, I think she will sort of lean in and touch whatever would resemble the cheekbone of this creature, if it even has bones. And she'll say, "Thank you for helping me to regain my senses. How foolish of me to think that I would work against something so extraordinary."
You
And she'll
are
lean in.
extraordinary too.
She'll lean in and give it a kiss.
Which mouth?
The bigger one. I think she just more kiss it on the other cheek.
Yeah.
But it's not like full on making out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
You'd be there a while.
Well, 2 mouths, twice the fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she'll step away, and she'll sort of look over to Abdurrahman, who will instinctively just sort of put the dress back on her.
Owen Hale is there and has kind of been stock still watching all of this. Do you say or do anything with him?
Oh, you're not having fun?
I was hoping to have some with you. Although that might be too much to think that would be possible.
Hmm. Yes, I have quite the idea. And she'll smile at Abdurrahman and say, "I'll meet you at home." And as Abdurrahman leaves, she'll look at what's his name again? Owen?
Owen. Mm-hmm.
Shall we?
He sighs with delight. Yes, please. And fade.
On all fours.
Yes.
Oh no, I'm not doing what you think I'm doing.
No. I mean, that's fine. Fade.
She'll no. So it's not a fatal act thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she says, "On all fours now."
And he accedes. Yep.
Well, I don't have a carriage, so I'll need you.
Ah,
And she's going to ride him all the way back to Belgrave Square.
nice. Okay. Alrighty. And Atticus and Dr. Weiss. Atticus, I think you give chase to
Yes.
this thing. Okay. Night move. You have seen quite the scary ass thing.
Yes.
How do you feel?
Exultant.
I see.
I've been pursuing this thing for so long. It's been a blight on my family for literally generations. I've had so much of my life carved away from me for the purpose of destroying this thing.
Take the condition Hunter's Call.
Okay, that is my third condition.
Um, Go ahead and roll. Tell me how uh, this will go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve.
I will charge directly into an ambush with some servitors that I will recognize.
Yes. I'm not going to make that worse because that's pretty goddamn bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vitality?
Yes, because, yeah, given your nature.
This is what I do. Do I have to roll a disadvantage because of any of my conditions?
Yeah, because it's like you're going completely heedless. I mean, like at hunting call alone, and then like you're going in without thinking about it first.
Yes.
No
Okay.
plan.
All right. That would have been a 14, I want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a 10, though.
Oh, just a 10. Heaven forfend. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait, hold on. I have to take the lowest two. So that is a 9.
Oh,
Oh,
156. So,
okay.
darn it.
Darn it.
Would have been clean. All right.
Sorry. Okay. On a 9. Tell me what you're doing in this hunt to get to the beast.
Is the beast running down the streets of London? Is it running into a public park? Where am I pursuing it? It left an industrial slaughterhouse and it let out a cry.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I'm geographically brain dead around London, but just say that it's going into a neighborhood.
Is it going into Shoreditch?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm going rooftop to rooftop trying to maintain a high vantage point, trying to spot where this thing is so I can pounce.
Okay. I'm gonna say that you do succeed, and you see you track it all the way to Shoreditch, and it is trying to go into an area that has people in it
Okay.
for more prey. But I'm gonna say that just before you're about ready to pounce on it, I think imagine a point where you hear a Doppler scream before you actually see it. You actually see the shuddering around you as if there's some sort of like tremor that goes through people and your landscape, what you're looking down on. And there's this flash of a different time, a different place. Where was the last time you tracked the beast this close? I'm talking the other dimension. I'm not talking here. This was when you were with the others.
London. I tracked it to the sewers.
Right. It's like you were there again. Smells of the sewers in your nose.
Kind of wish it was there. Fewer people, fewer casualties, fewer food.
I think coming from these sewer tunnels, it's like a crossroads or like a connection point. I think from several of these sewer tunnels that you see, you are seeing the old man that you had killed after being at Titania's. You are seeing Dr. Rodney Walters with, well, evidence of his last injury. You see even Lady Abigail in the brown monk robes that she had worn before.
Ah.
And you see in her gray leathers, without her cowl, you see Lady Everly Grey. And they all look up at you and point. John, I think he's left you in the dust. He's been parkouring his way across to get to Shoreditch and tracking this thing. So you see him like leap up to the rooftops. He's running there, here and fro. What are you doing?
I will note that Dr. Weiss, although technically speaking not as physically capable of Sir Atticus with just impure raw ability, Dr. Weiss is clever. He can make sort of strategy ways, because like chimney sweeps and whatnot, they have to have a way up to the roofs, and like I'm running down on the streets looking for like an easy access point when the beast is just going to get stuck somewhere, like reach an end of the road, where Sir Atticus is going to make a standoff. And like I think they slowed down a bit as like these people are coming out of the sewers, and like I see this point and I'm making my way up to the top, because like I need to get Sir Atticus out of here. We can't afford to have like a direct confrontation. I have to save him because no one else will.
Night move. You're doing something very risky.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think will go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve?
I think because I'm climbing up like this sort of ladder and whatnot, and like I think this creature is very big, has long limbs and whatnot. I think just by its sheer size and shifting off the roof, I'm just going to fall off the roof.
Yes. Yes. But I think you are in possession of a tainted heart. And I think the beast will take advantage of that. Tommy Rawhead will give you a taste of what it's like to face it without even being in front of it.
What am I rolling with?
Vitality? I mean, you're trying to do something very physical.
That's fair. I think back to my younger days, back in the army and whatnot. I always got into trouble because I'm always wanting to save people, because the life is very, very important. So I'm marking my dented tin of war medals.
Ooh. Nice.
Gain advantage.
Okay.
Thank God. That's a 9.
All right. You succeed. Tell me how this looks as you're making your way to Sir Atticus, trying desperately to make sure that he's not going to make any mistake.
Like I was like you're facing off this. I imagine like the creature is standing between two roofs, and like suddenly like you see my head pop up like from the side. Don't be dumb, Sir Atticus. Use your head. We can't fight this creature head on. We need to get out of here. We can't be chasing it all over London. It'll just cause ruin, wakes of ruin in its path, and it'll take you with it.
Do you want to narrate the complication before I respond?
I'm complicating it with whatever's affecting you, Sir Atticus. It's complicated. John is trying to reach to your more reasonable self. The self that would not fight if he didn't have to. But it's complicated now because all that's blaring in your ear right now is the hunting call and the bloodthirsty and your drive. Complete this.
You said that the servitors, these people, they are on the surface, or they're down in a sewer, or are they visions?
They're visions, I'm going to say. But I mean, what Dr. Weiss sees is amalgams of things. Like he sees these creatures of bone and sinew and viscera, all pointing at you.
I think Atticus will let out a wordless cry and just tear into these amalgams with the burden, with his bare hands. I think I will actually take your earlier suggestion, Mads, and go to tear off a part of the lamppost and just use it as a bludgeon against these things and burn them until there's nothing but singed meat.
I'm gonna say in your head, as if the beast is talking to you and you alone, Sir Atticus, you are me, and I am you. An appetite for destruction. Sarah, Thomas, a rather plain young man, barely a man, really, who is clean and able. How do we know Thomas is doing this out of desperation?
Captain Bradmore walks up just a planked flight of wooden stairs to a plain room above an ordinary tavern, feeling hesitant even as he knocks on the door, as every stop on the tour has been far more of a production than this. But as Thomas, a fair and very young man, answers the door, dressed in a plain, ordinary spun English cotton shirt and pants and nothing more, invites him in, and without much fuss or any adornments begins to just simply undress himself. And the captain can see, as the cotton unveils his flesh, deep bruises around his wrists, and his torso littered in any number of scars, green bruises faded over weeks, even cigarette burns along the edge of his back that smell of singed meat. We think that he does this out of desperation because at this stop at Madame Morvaine's, Thomas will accept anything his customers want, and that bears clean on his flesh. And I would hope this captain, having such a fanciful fill, might find a tender bit of respite, wallowing in the grief of this lone person's suffering.
At this point, let's go ahead and close out Night Phase with an epilogue of how each hunter's night ends as dawn breaks. How does your night end, Ernest?
I think for Ernest, it is a fever dream. He remembers jumping to his feet for applause, and then again jumping to his feet for applause, and then the final curtain goes down and he is jumping to his feet to applause, and then waking in his bed covered in sweat, and then waking in his bed covered in sweat, and continuing to fade from that world into this, kind of apneic, seizure-ridden start and stop, until as the sun rises and he gasps into being again, there's an exhaustion that sinks in, and he can feel the edges of his mouth sinking deeper than they have before, and almost permanently so. Even though no one else could see it, as he touches his face, he feels like there is a tragedy with the morning light.
I'm just going to add to that by saying that you have a rosebud clutched in your hand. And from the angle that you're looking at it, it looks like a heart.
Is it pressed or fresh?
Fresh.
Excellent.
Liat, how does your night of fun end?
I think we see Liat sort of cross-legged on the back of this man who is crawling across the cobblestone streets of London. And I think at some point earlier in the day it rains, so there's wetness and dampness in between the grooves of the cobblestones that he's trying his best to avoid. But after a couple of hours of crawling like this, many stops and starts have had to happen with Liat on his back. And there's one final moment where he winces and gasps in pain as he crumbles to the ground. Liat not jumps, but more like leaps off his back, stumbling backwards. And she looks at him, offended by this show of weakness. And he, out of breath, profusely begins to apologize to her. Please, madam, I'm so sorry. I could do it, I promise you. And Liat looks around, noticing how late it's been. She sighs to herself. No, no. You've done enough. And Owen looks up at her, pausing his sobbing, surprised at this strange, sudden show of mercy. And she's not even looking down at him at this point. She's just sort of looking off at the distance. No, return to your home. Do not see me until I send for you. And she begins to walk off, walking down the street towards Belgrave Square. And as she does, there's an occasional glance back at the man who is sort of doing his best to dust himself off, right himself, sort of bending, rubbing the lower back of his, trying to, massage out some of the kinks that he's now collected on this weird pilgrimage that she put him on. And she looks back at him, watching him for just a moment, taking it in. And I think there's a moment where she's not stunned, but she's considering. Anyone who would show this kind of weakness in the past would be missing at least one limb, but if not their life. But she's far too tired for this right now. She feels the exhaustion in her bones and in her flesh and in her spirit. It's not the exhaustion of age, not as we understand it as regular human beings, but someone who has lived for thousands and thousands of years. She sighs, and her lips part just enough to mutter something. It's something in a foreign language, ancient, prehistoric even. But if this were the HBO prestige television series, there is a very simple subtitle that says, "I'm sorry." She turns and continues to walk to Belgrave Square. And that was me narrating My Moss-Covered Gate. Narrate a scene in which you express private regret for the harm you have caused.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask Dr. John Weiss how his night ended before I ask you, Sir Atticus.
I cannot give it until we get to Sir Atticus.
I go.
Mm-hmm.
The evening ends with me covered in gore, in viscera, with a torn lamppost, with just a savagery on these misshapen lumps of meat that have taken on the faces of people that I've killed. And I'm just there, and it's been over an hour. And I'm just there, still hitting what remains there. And his clothing is torn, and his scars are visible. And he just is defeated. No more of that heat, no more of that bloodthirst. Just, I'm sorry. Sorry. Sorry, sister. Sorry, mother. I'm sorry, lady. Sorry, doctor. And he just continues this litany. And I would like to trigger soaked in blood to clear my conditions.
Good. Dr. Weiss?
I think in this hour, the creature is satisfied with Sir Atticus effectively destroying its minions and wanders off. Dr. Weiss really can't get into too close to the battle because for fear of getting hurt himself, but he does hear off in the distance constables and bobbies running throughout the street, panicking because there's a monster on the loose. And I think for the next hour, he keeps everyone away from the street. Keeps the official presence of the law away from Sir Atticus. I think as Sir Atticus is saying this litany later, I think we see Dr. Weiss approaching. And I think he just tries to give Sir Atticus a hug. Both covered in gore. And still, despite everything, Matt, I am going to give up the heart. Because it's not worth it. It is too dangerous. Because of what I've seen tonight.
Did you? Well, I mean, I'm gonna ask either of you. Did either of you set things ablaze?
Atticus did, using the oil in the lantern and just making sure that they are deader than dead.
Yeah, I think within one of these blaze piles, Dr. Weiss will toss the heart on.
Atticus won't notice.
I think there's really no more point in denying the supernatural causes of tonight.
Dr. Weiss. Would you say that the condition skeptic no longer fits? Or should we just call it it exists? We're getting some seriously cool conditions listed in the chat.
I think the condition is rather there are more important things.
Okay. That's fine. Goodness. Okay. And we close out of dusk. Close out of night. Oh my gosh. Totally missed it. And we go into dawn. Jesus.
I really don't think that he can help us now.
All right. So anyway, there's a lot to process, unpack, and all that kind of stuff. So I will give out rewards for the collector later. Sorry. Let's just go ahead and buzz through dawn questions real quick, just to make sure that they're done. Mother. Answered a question. Yes, last time. Resolved a threat. Echo in the night.
Yes, with sort of the fabrics from the night tap, and as well as the scent from the collector's den.
Cool. Dismiss the possibility of supernatural explanation despite
last session.
Yep. Did you put your hands in a pile of guts and love every moment of it? Jesus.
Yes.
Okay, take your points, clear your dawn questions once you're figured out what you want to do. Liat, answered a question, resolved a threat. Did you experience an echo in the night? Pretty sure I heard it.
Yeah, the golden sheen on the skin.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. Did you appear in London society wearing risque or avant-garde fashion? Hell yeah. Jesus. And did you create the top erotic? Yes, you did. Oh my God, brilliant.
Everyone had fun.
Everyone had fun. Take your points, dang it. Okay. Sir Atticus, answered a question, resolved a threat. Did you experience an echo in the night?
Yeah. With the scars of Atticus and the scars of our final host.
Yeah. Did you taste someone or something else's blood, sweat, or other bodily fluids?
Very carefully, no.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Was
I don't want to.
No, I got it. I got it. But
I don't want to taste anything
it was just like,
with that. No, no.
Oh. Did you loudly curse your family's name?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Heard
Last session.
Yep. Okay. Take your points. All right, Ernest. The hunters did answer a question. The hunters resolved a threat. Did you experience an echo in the night?
The not fine common spun English cotton of the man's shirt, then into the singed flesh after that. I did not deliver a soul-searching monologue on the importance of appearance, but I do feel like I dressed and acted in a theatrical manner in order to draw attention to myself. I feel like that happened. So
Indeed he did. Yes. So please take your points.
did
And
do
clear your dawn questions once you filled your XP track, and then change your elective dawn questions, all of you, if you so choose, for next time. Okay. So real quick, so this way we're not going too far over. Please. Stars and wishes again, like we know how this goes. Holy sheep shit. Damn. God. Well, welcome back, Ernest. Thank you very much. It's been excellent having you back. And then everybody gets stars for each of their scenes, and just that oh my God, that brotherly buddy something going on between Sir Atticus and Dr. Weiss. Stars for that. Liat, goddamn sexy all over like this episode. And Ernest, I love your over the topness and just like, yeah, I know it's kind of like the mastermind, but I don't care. I want to hang out. It's like, okay, star for that. Wishes. We're so damn close. I think it's only like two more clues or something like that, and I'm just like, I want to see like these characters just go through their shit and see how far we can finish up things. I mean, I guess I owe another mystery, another threat next time when we hit day phase again. Oh boy. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot on the table. So have at it. I'm done because again, a lot to process, unpack, and all that fun stuff. So please.
Yeah. Yeah. Wild times. Stars for Star for Mad for rolling with everything that was being thrown out. Also that star for that line about from Atticus' sister about I'm real but you aren't. I'm very curious. There's also a wish to see where that goes. Star to Ernest for the zaniness, but I love the narrow-mindedness. You played that really well, of the obsessiveness of the play, even in the face of a fey entity, of vampire. It's the boldness it took to just be like, no, I don't really care about anything you have to say. Let's go see this. It was almost like childish, which like the sort of, not childish, but like childlike in a way, that I appreciated it. Sort of like the boldness, the ignorance was great. Dr. Weiss, really love that last scene of you just sort of like, slipping the heart out and burning it. I thought that was like that's the turning point for him. That's where things are gonna get exciting, because like he has to contend with the drive of creating the child, but now also like, does he care about Atticus, and does he, or is this just sort of like a practicality thing of like, oh, I don't want to use this thing, I don't know what it's going to do. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. And then to our Sir Atticus, love your hair, looks great. love that little waviness. Still got it. It's great. But no, but on the real, the little echo with the I'm sorry with Liat's I'm sorry. You know what you're doing. And yeah, there's the overall urgency and the terror about it is really fun. You know, we never see him get scared, and he's scared right now, and so that's going to be fun to watch. My only wish is that I get to meet the beast, because I want to have tea with it.
I don't want Liat to meet the beast.
Why?
It's oh man. Yeah, we're probably gonna kill that thing. That's so spooky. It's real spooky, Mike. It's real spooky, Mads. Yeah, man, this is definitely a real turning point for Dr. Weiss. Man, oh man, he's gonna have so many issues during vulnerable scenes next time. Gotta give a star for Liat resolving the collector. I have no idea what we're doing with that threat. I don't think I actually did any investigation for it anyways.
Liat was on a mission.
We left
Yeah.
it to the
This was
immortal to deal with the immortal. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's great that that resolved. Also, the feeling of regrets with treating that guy pretty badly. Oh man. I'm looking forward to when Liat finally marks all of her points for her reflection. Because that seems to be coming up pretty close. Man, Ernest, goddamn, what shenanigans are you getting into? Like, you're just a little chaos gremlin. I wish for Ernest, I wish you would use your invisibility more often. Like I wanna see him get up to getting into places, sneaking into places, rather than being the center of attention. Like he's a one-man star, a one-man show, and I want him to clear his conditions so he's so he could be so he could be sneaky. And oh man, as much as it was a very cool power play, I'm a little sad that Sir Atticus cleared all of his conditions at the end of the night phase. Fuck you, Mike. I wanted more vulnerable scenes.
We can still be vulnerable. Mads is totally fine with people just having scenes. And I mean, if Mads wants to have a survivor condition on Atticus because Atticus is very drained for betraying one of his core ideals, then yeah, sure. I didn't want to die chaotic. I very much wanted to avoid dying.
That's fair.
At least for now. I mean, if you want to take that condition for absolute sure, then you can see how you deal with it if you do in the next day phase, for sure.
Yeah.
So, go for it.
I will note betrayed ideals. All right. And for me, let's see. Star to Liat for resolving the collector by effectively saying, take the rest of the planet, London is mine, thank you very much. And that actually working, and then just going and having a bit of fun on the town. It was a pleasure to have Ernest back again. I just enjoyed hearing you play Ernest again, Sarah. It was super fun. And chaotic, I think it's very, very sweet and just like brotherly in this, like how John is approaching Atticus, who
You're just lucky I didn't include all the beasts that you killed in the finale of last season.
I figure that when it comes to throwdown, you're gonna throw a literal menagerie of animals at us.
Oh, sure. I mean, I've already figured out how this is going to be absolutely horror filled. No worries. I got this.
That's my wish. I want to. I'm happy that I could convey how, in the words of chat, how shook Atticus is by the beast showing up, and I want to convey that as much as possible to everyone else. Mads, please show them terror. Show them why the beast must be feared. Is it?
I was prepared to like drug out Atticus to get him out here.
Just pull out a blowgun and shrink him.
I mean, he could just douse a rag in.
That's your chloroform.
Like a half a dozen vials in his bag would put you out.
Go to sleep, Atticus. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Oh God!
He's in the middle of like a guilt-ridden like vision, and Weiss is like, no guilt, just dreams. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Oh my God!
The headcanon that I create for the games that are carved from Brindlewood are my favorite. Half the fun of this game is the shit that didn't happen but could have. The other half is the stuff you wish you could do, but somehow just can't quite reach. I am very excited to be back after a couple of sessions absence. I had a fuck ton of fun playing Ernest, just as mad and like madcap. All of that stupid musical energy was meant to be both metaphysically disorienting as well as like so much of this campaign has been timey-wimey, that Ernest coming out of a literal dimension designed for his own delights, passions, and interests. It was kind of fun to just like, no, it's fine. Hargrave House can fuck all at the moment. And I loved watching all of you solve the individual components, but that one-tracked mind, and then also the lack of rationale with still possessing all of the suave, that was a lot of fun to play through. Stars I have for other players. Everybody was collecting body parts this game. It wasn't just our mother, right? Let's just clock it. Because Ernest may be socializing with the quote-unquote enemy, but isn't lopping off limbs and saving them for later. But certainly a star for the rest of us watching. I love the unstuck from time, paint the scenes that we keep getting in this campaign, and each one of them seems to layer on top of the sediment of the history that could be but never was, that is this campaign. So all of that's great. I'm glad to see our doctor finally reveling in some guts. I know I missed a game or two there, but it's nice to see a blood-soaked mother. I also have a star for the witch mouth question Mads lobbed out when there was that resolution. Jack solving an immortal's problem with an immortal's solution, and none of us the wiser. Of course, inspired. 10,000 stars. Loved it. But I was more interested in the fact that Liat was dressed for once in the Victorian fashion, but just lopping off the arms of guards in the front. So as far as Victorian standards go, I'm fascinated by her application, I guess, of the sway you have over others. You can conform to any number of decorums, but just choose not to. And you choosing violence is always a pleasure to watch. The long form story of Sir Atticus into this moment in time is too much to eat in the bite size, but in the tiny bites, when you choose to just engage in umbrage, Mike, you have no equal. You just don't. It's always a pleasure. And the wishes. I want to call the Queen of Hearts my dear heart, just to completely unstuck all of that in time. I would love to have a fuck ton of vulnerable moves, because the reason Ernest was such a chaos gremlin is because my conditions are currently all the worlds of song, vulnerable, and defaced. So all I could do was dance damaged through the streets of London town, and I had a pleasure doing so. So I'm very delighted by all of you, and happy to be in it again.
Beautiful job from everyone tonight. Oh my gosh. I mean, even as weird and wackadoodle as it was, I mean, it was just, as you say, Sarah, a fuck ton of fun. And just, I mean, just the levels. We were skirting lots of lines tonight, I will say. Oh my god, such content warnings will have to go on this thing when I put it up. But I mean, I still had fun, even with, you know, like things that could have been uncomfortable. And I hope that, you know, if we're comfortable enough around each other, that if there was any issue, that, like, you know, we would speak up. Like, you know, please do not feel like you can't, just because it's like we're all kind of like getting into it and such, you know. But I mean, I really enjoyed this episode tonight, and I'm kind of dreading but excited to see what's gonna happen next week, because you still got King in Shadows, you still got St. Petersburg Mirror, and the Beast. Oh boy, howdy, is the Beast just running rampant. And then I get you to give you something else for, well, no, actually, no, I don't, because there's three threats on the board. So yeah, it's fine. We're not gonna worry about that next time, thank God. But yeah, there's still 3 threats on the board. Oh boy. And barely any clues for any of them. So yeah, best get to vulnerable moves and best get to investigating. So, and I'm happy with this format of like just a big fat day phase or a big fat night phase, and then like just the other stuff in between. So, yeah. If there's nothing else, I will hopefully see you guys for next week. Everybody. I mean, if not, obviously, you know, we deal. But yeah, this was great. And thank you guys so much. You have a wonderful weekend and happy gaming if I don't see you for something else in between now and next week. Alrighty? So thank you again, and see you. Bye.